Okay, welcome. We're going to be doing a review of Chapter 3 of a book called Principles of Marketing. Before I start, I would like to let you know that the purpose of this review for educational information and review purposes, where I give my opinion and my commentary with explanation. It's not to take credit for the book. It is the publisher and author of the material who has the copyright uh, and who has credit for the material. All I'm doing is just communicating what's in the book and giving my opinion of it with commentary. Okay. With that out of the way, I'd like to talk about chapter 3 now. This is part 2. Now, part 2 is understanding the marketplace and consumers. You see, it even shows it here and it shows it here. So part 2 will have chapters 3 through 6. Now, this week I'm going to put out at least two chapters, which will be chapters 3 and 4. So today and Thursday, I'll be putting out this material. Okay? Now, we always need to keep things, for understanding purposes, we need to keep things in perspective, okay? We need to understand the context of what we're reading. In other words, what's the significance of this information as it relates to the larger point? It's like one thing inside of another thing. Do you understand? All encompassing is the part, the thing inside of it is the chapter. Okay? Now, for this chapter, we're going to talk about analyzing the marketing environment. Okay, there's reasons for that. Number one, we need to understand it from an external, which is from a customer-centered point of view. We need to also understand it from a competitor's point of view. So basically, we need to understand it from opportunities, which is customers, and threats from your competitor's point of view. Remember that the environment itself is the niche, not so much the segment as the niche, because your competitor is not the person who's in the same segment. Okay? They're doing the same general thing, but more specifically. You know what it is? It's like a person who is in the computer industry, so that's the market. It says, okay, I'm in hardware, I make hardware. But he doesn't make, for example, the processor, right? People make the processor, right? Those fabrication plants. They also pretty much specialize in chips. They don't specialize in other things. Okay, just like Logitech and, for example, Intel are not competitors. You see, so we need to consider it in the terms of its niche. Okay, I want to tell you that starting off. Now, just as a preview, in part one, you learned about the basic concept of marketing and the steps in the marketing process for building profitable relationships with targeted consumers. That's what we learned before. Now, remember something: each part is building on one on top of the other. It's cumulative, meaning it's adding from the previous one. Now, in part two, we will look deeper into the first step of the marketing process, which is understanding the marketplace and customer needs and wants in the chapter. Highlight that. Let's move this back because I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, now in this chapter, you'll see that the marketing operates in a complex and changing environment. Other actors in the environment, such as suppliers, intermediaries, customers, competitors, and publics, and others, may work with or against the company. Now, it depends on their role in that niche. Now, if we're talking about the market. We're talking about all of the niches all together. Now, um, you may have intermediary, which is a company that does a service on behalf of another company to another to perform a service on behalf of that company for a customer. For example, like a payment processor is an intermediary. Now, you may have an occasion one that specializes only in that niche, but more than likely not, because there is more money to be made in serving all the niches in that market than only that one niche. You understand? Now, I'm gonna enlarge this so you'll be able to see this much more clearly. Okay. Major environmental forces such as demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, and cultural shape marketing opportunities, impose threats, and affect the company's ability to build customer relationships. Okay? Now, let me reiterate that. These are environmental forces. Okay? Demographic, that refers to the type of people who buy a product. Economic refers to the environment in terms of the overall buying power and buying habits of a whole group. Natural, this has to do with the physical environment. Technological, that has to do with technology, science. Political, has to do with the relations between people that are public. Cultural, it has to do with the activities of a group, activities and beliefs of a group. And what do? They shape marketing opportunities. Why? As much as this is a limitation, it is also an opportunity. This will determine, based upon what they value and what they do, what opportunities you have. Because it poses threats and affects the company's ability to build customer relationships. Okay. Now, depending on the country you're in, will depend on what type of limitations and opportunities are available. It could be that you have to be connected to certain people in government or in religious groups, social groups, etc. Now, to develop effective marketing strategies, you must first understand the environment in which the marketing operates. So we need in that environment, you need to understand all aspects: the cultural, or excuse me, the demographic, the economic, the natural, the technological, the political, the cultural. Right? So natural would be the geographic location. Economic would be how strong the flow of money is in the exchange of resources. Cultural would be what are the habits of the group or society of that country. And demographic, what are the types of people are there? Now you can have the same types of people, but because the environment is different, because for example, the natural environment is different, because there's a lack of technology, because it's not politically stable, all those things affect marketing. Now, to develop effective marketing strategies, you must first understand the environment in which marketing operates. For example, we started looking at the American icon Xerox. A half century ago, the venerable old company harnessed changing technology to create a whole new industry of photocopying and dominated that in the industry for decades. But did you know that barely a decade ago, Xerox was on the verge of bankruptcy? Don't worry, the company is once again sound, but Xerox's harrowing experience provides a cautionary tale of what can happen when a company, even a dominant market leader, fails to adapt to its changing market environment. Right, so here's what the situation is. If the economy is bad, your opportunities are less, and the way you can get customers has to change based upon the limitations. If the culture changes, the values change. If the political landscape changes, are certain barriers to entry based upon public policy. If the technology changes, then was useful before is no longer valued. If the physical location has changed, as in you used to do business in this country, now you do business in a different country, that's definitely has to change. And also that if your type of customers who buy that item has changed, then of course you need to adapt it to the types of customer it is. Now, I'm not going to go through this. I'm not going to read the case study. Just understand that Xerox adapted to the changing environment, and that's what allowed them to be successful. So they were successful. They had to reinvent themselves and change how they did business, and then they became successful. Now, I'll let you read through the case example yourself. Okay, just keep that in mind. I'm just giving general ideas to get an understanding of what's going on. And then once you have the understanding, you have the knowledge of it, and you have the understanding, then you can apply it in your own business or life as well. Now, keep in mind that there are 5 objectives for this chapter. The first objective is to describe the environmental forces that affects the company's ability to serve its customers. Okay. These are your barriers to entry or limitations, more like limitations. Although they could be barriers of entry if it's a political situation. And remember something, in the environmental forces there are 2 types. There's the microenvironment, there's the macroenvironment. And micro refers to a small environment, macro refers to a large environment. That's micro and macro. Excuse me. Now, let's talk about the second objective. Our goal is to explain how changes in the demographic and economic environments affect marketing decisions. Effectively, all 5 of those, all the ones that I mentioned, are objectives. Now, what we want to do is we want to look at the demographic environment. We want to look at the economic environment. Remember, the demographic refers to the types of people and their habits. Okay? Economic environment refers to how resources are managed in society. Okay? Now, number 3, we want to identify the major trends in the firm's natural and technological environments. Okay, these are trends. Keyword is trends. Just get this here. So, okay, now I'm referring to the natural environment and the technological environment. Okay? Because the environment for these trends is natural and technological. Number 4, we want to explain the key changes in the political and cultural environments. If we don't know what's changed, we don't know what to adapt. Okay? Remember, that's the political and social environment for one. The second one is the cultural environment. And the last objective for the chapter is we want to discuss how companies can react to the marketing environment. Okay, just like this. We want to look at the trends, we want to look at the changes, then we want to look at our adaptation or changes we need to make or how we should react. Now, remember, excuse me, the idea is responding to the marketing environment. See, the environment doesn't go around the company. It's like people don't go around the environment. Sorry, environment doesn't go around people. People have to go around the environment. You understand? Because the environment is especially if it's a natural environment, that's a fixed thing. There can be changes made to it, but for the most part, it's a fixed thing. Let's talk about some key terms, and then we'll go into detail. Okay. There's three key terms you want to talk about when we talk about this first objective. First, let's define what marketing environment is. It's the actors and forces outside marketing that affects marketing management's ability to build and maintain successful relationships with target customers. Okay, keep that in mind. Number two, let's talk about the microenvironment. Those actors are close to the company that affects its ability to serve its customers. These are the company, the suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customer markets, competitors, and publics. Let's talk about the macro environment. It's the larger societal forces that affect the microenvironment. These are demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, and cultural forces. What happens is that the macro takes longer to make changes to. Once it makes changes to it, it's quite impactful. The microenvironment is much easier to influence because it's smaller on a smaller scale. That would be one reason. Okay? Now, the company's micro marketing environment consists of actors and forces outside marketing that affects marketing's management ability to build and maintain customer relationships with target customers. Like Xerox, companies constantly watch and adapt to the changing environment. More than any other group in the company, marketers must be must be environmentally trend trackers and opportunity seekers. Let's talk about that for a moment. Why? Ask yourself, why should they be trend trackers and opportunity seekers? Why? Because you need to know what trend you're dealing with now, and you need to know what opportunities can be used as a result of that trend. Okay? Now, every manager in an organization should watch the outside environment. Marketers have two special aptitudes. They have disciplined methods, which is of marketing research and marketing intelligence. When I talk about marketing intelligence, referring to collecting information about the marketing environment. That's what it is. Now, they spend more time in customer and competitor environments. By carefully studying the environment, marketers can adapt their strategies to meet the new marketplace challenges and opportunities. The marketing environment consists of a micro environment, like we was talking about, and a macro environment. You need to consider both. Because when you see trends, you want to either go along with the trend or see how you're going to adapt to the trend. It's basically like a wave, right? Are you going to go with the wave or are you going to try to go like around the wave? What are you going to do? Ideally, if you could go with the wave, you'd have more momentum and more impact. If it's something that's limiting you, then you need to somehow adapt to it to go around it. Now, as we talked about, the microenvironment consists of actors close to the company. This is internal. Actors close to the company that affect its ability to serve. Kind of. Should I blow this up more because maybe I have to reduce this to like 150. Okay. Consists of actors close to the company that affects its ability to serve its customers. Okay. Let's talk about that in more depth. How's that? It's the companies, suppliers, marketing intermediaries, customer markets, and competitors and publics. These are the entities. Macroenvironment, in contrast, consists of larger societal forces that affect the microenvironment, such as demographic, economic, natural, technological, political, and cultural forces. And these are the forces that affect the microenvironment. Now, in the microenvironment, marketing management's job is to build relationship with customers by creating customer value and satisfaction. However, marketing managers cannot do this alone. Okay? So first is this is our goal. Second is how do we do it? I'm going to show you the figure later below that says that. Now the major actors in the marketer's microenvironment. Marketing success requires building relationship with companies' departments, suppliers, market intermediaries, competitors, various publics, and customers who combine up to make the company's value for the delivery network. This is how we give value to the customer. Here's a diagram of what we're referring to. Now we've got 6 things to consider that relate to marketing and back and forth. First, we have the company. Okay? The company uses marketing, and the marketing is for the company. The supplier uses marketing, and marketing for the suppliers. The marketing intermediaries use marketing, and marketing uses the intermediaries as well. Competitors need marketing, and marketing is used for competitors. Publics need marketing, and marketing is used for publics. And also customers need marketing to communicate the value, and marketing needs customers to market to. See the trend? Now, customers are the most important actors in the company's microenvironment. The aim of the entire value delivery system is to serve target customers and create strong relationships with them. Okay? Let's talk about the company. In designing marketing plans, marketing management takes other company groups into account. Groups such as top management, finance, research and development, purchasing, operations, and accounting. This is in designing marketing. Now, all these interrelated groups form the internal environment. Top management sets the company's mission. So what does top management do? Company's mission, objectives, broad strategies, and policies. Okay. Now, marketing managers make decisions within the strategies and plans made by top management. As we discussed in Chapter 2, marketing managers must work closely with other companies' departments. Other departments have an impact on marketing departments' plans and actions. And under the marketing concept, all of these functions must think consumer. According to a former Xerox CEO, to provide a great customer experience, Xerox must find out what the customers are facing. The facing refers to their need, what their problems and opportunities are, Everyone at Xerox shares the same responsibility. That includes people and departments that have not always been customer facing, like finance, legal, and human resources. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to have a big picture view of what's going on. The marketing needs the data from finance. The marketing needs to know what's legal to operate, and the marketing needs to be operated with the right procedures. That's legally when dealing with people working and doing this service internally as relates to human resources. Now let's talk about suppliers. Now suppliers form an important link in the company's overall customer value delivery network. Okay? Keywords are value delivery network. They provide the resources needed by the company to produce its goods and services. Supplier problems can seriously affect marketing. Marketing managers must watch supply availability and costs. Supply shortages or delay, labor strikes, and other events can cost sales in the short run and damage customer satisfaction in the long run. Rising supply costs may force price increases that can harm the company's sales volume. Why? If the price becomes more expensive, maybe some people can't afford it or won't want to buy it. Okay? Now, most marketers today treat their suppliers as partners in creating and delivering customer value, meaning the supplier is giving good products so that way the person can resell it to the customer and give good customer value because the person gave them a high quality product. For example, Toyota now knows the importance of building close relationships with suppliers. In fact, it even includes the phrase achieve supplier satisfaction in the mission statement. What are the keywords? Achieve supplier satisfaction. Now, that's an important point that the book makes because ultimately everything has to be customers focused. So I do like that, the fact that they did put this in the book. Now, Toyota's competition often alienates suppliers through self serving, heavy handed dealings. According to one supplier, U.S. automakers, quote, set annual cost reduction targets, referring to for the parts they buy. To realize these targets, they'll do anything, referring to they've unleashed a reign of terror and gets worse every year. By contrast, rather than bullying suppliers, Toyota partners with them and helps them meet its very high expectations. Toyota learns from their businesses, conducts joint improvement activities, helps train supplier employees, gives daily performance feedback, and actively seeks out supplier concerns. It can even recognize top performers with annual performance awards. High supplier satisfaction means Toyota can rely on suppliers to help it improve its own quality, reduce costs, quickly develop new products. Even after the recent massive recall following anticipated acceleration problems in Toyota models, the company didn't point blame at the accelerator part supplier. Instead, Toyota took blame for a faulty part design and even issued a statement supporting the quote, long term and valued supplier. And all breeding satisfied suppliers helps Toyota produce lower cost, high quality cars, which in turn results in more satisfied customers. The idea is your supplier should supply you, or she should be able to give you products that are high quality that will satisfy customers. Now, so it's lower cost, higher quality cars, which in turn results in more satisfied customers. Excuse me. Now let's talk about marketing intermediaries. might ask yourself, what are those? Those are firms that helps the company to promote, sell, or distribute its goods to final buyers. Okay, that's a marketing intermediary. So basically, they're like a consulting company. Okay. Now, oftentimes you might contract out another marketing intermediary to do a job better than the company can do, and that is worth the money you pay because otherwise, if you do a poor job, you just won't get business. Okay, so you have to give up something to get something. That's the idea. Now, marketing intermediaries help the company promote, sell, and distribute its products to final buyers. Those include resellers, physical distribution firms, marketing services and agencies, and financial intermediaries. Financial intermediaries is one that is basically a payment processor. It's kind of like Visa, MasterCard, American Express. Okay, those are financial intermediaries. Just like this. Suppose your customer, your supplier, okay, for example, okay, there's a couple examples, such as you're selling to a customer. The customer needs a way to pay, so that's what that is for. All right. Now, resellers are distribution channel firms that help the company find customers or make sales to them. Okay? The idea is you have X amount of inventory and you need to sell out the inventory within a month. So you need to find a way to sell out the inventory. So if you just have one customer, how much are they going to buy? Now the distributor can basically take the inventory from you and then sell it to retail stores. They can do it for you. So you can sell it to them and they can do it for you. Those include wholesalers and retailers who can buy and resell merchandise. So they're buying to resell merchandise to somebody else. Sorry, let's go back up. Okay. Now, selecting and partnering with resellers is not easy. No longer do manufacturers have many small independent resellers from which to choose. They now face large and growing reseller organizations like Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Costco, and Best Buy. Those organizations frequently have enough power to dictate terms or even shut smaller manufacturers out of large markets. Why? Because they can leverage them out, such as undercutting them, underpricing them, buy out inventory. There's different tactics they can use to undercut the smaller one. Now, the physical distribution firms help the company stock and move goods from the point of origin to the destination. That's basically logistics, okay? Your logistics management. Marketing service agencies are the marketing research firms, advertising agencies, media firms, and marketing consulting firms that help the company target and promote products to the right markets. Your financial intermediaries include banks, credit card companies, insurance companies, and other businesses to help finance transactions or insure against risk associated with buying and selling of goods. That's your financial intermediaries. Like suppliers, marketing intermediaries form an important component of the company's overall value delivery network. This is an idea that comes up a lot, so I'm highlighting. In its quest to create satisfying customer relationships, the company must do more than just optimize its own experience. It must partner effectively with marketing intermediaries to optimize the performance of the entire system. Now, If you're a marketing company, you can in-house that. But if, let's say, you're just a regular company and you're not skilled in marketing, that's why you want to hire out for someone to do your marketing for you. Now, thus today's marketers recognize the importance of working with the intermediaries as partners rather than simply just channels through which they sell their products. Now, it is the result is the same, but the experience is different. Okay, right? So what it is you're building a relationship with them to continue on, okay, to help you fulfill the demand for the customer. It's kind of like each service, if you're not an expert in it, you need to, when they say partner, that means basically like, okay, this is a business relationship we have that you provide a service for me. Now, today's marketers recognize the importance of working with the intermediaries as partners rather than simply as channels through which they sell their products. For example, when Coca-Cola signs on the exclusive beverage provider as a fast food chain, such as McDonald's, Wendy's, or Subway, it provides much more than just soft drinks. It pledges powerful marketing support. Now, let me go ahead and explain what they mean by that. Okay? The brand name recognition, Coca-Cola, encourages people to buy items in their shop. Okay? So not only so it benefits the reseller do it, but the company also, because they have a brand that's recognizable, they can easily sell to the reseller. You understand? Now, Coca-Cola assigns cross-functional teams dedicated to understanding the finer points of each retail partner's business. It conducts a staggering amount of research on beverage consumers and shares the insights with its partners. It analyzes the demographics of U.S. zip code areas and helps partners to determine which Coke brands are preferred in their areas. Okay. Coca-Cola even studied the design of drive-through menu boards for better understand which layouts, fonts, letter sizes, colors, and visuals to introduce consumers in order to order more food and drink. Based on such insights, Coca-Cola Food Service Group develops the marketing programs and merchandising tools that helps its retail partners improve their beverage sales and profits. Okay? The idea of marketing is that you should be able to increase profits, well, increase sales, and then also get marketing for products that are more profitable. For example, Coca-Cola Food Services website, www.cokesolution.com, provides retailers with a wealth of information, business solutions, and merchandising tips. And he said, we know that you're passionate about delighting guests and enhancing real experiences on every level, says Coca-Cola to its retail partners. As your partner, we want to help in any way we can. Such intense partnering efforts have made Coca-Cola a runaway leader in the U.S. fountains soft drink market. If you think about each place you go to, right? Not every place exclusively supplies Coke, as in Coca-Cola. But notice it's very prevalent, right? It's a popular soft drink, and it has name brand recognition. Companies want to sell products. This is a win-win. Do you understand? Okay. Now, excuse me. So, let's talk about competitors now. The marketing concept states to be successful, a company must provide greater customer value and satisfaction than their competitors do. So here's the thing: is you need a competitive advantage. which means you need to find something about your business that's better than your competition's. Thus, marketers must do more than simply adapt to the needs of the target customers. They must also gain strategic advantage by positioning their offerings strongly against competitors' offerings in the minds of consumers. No single competitive marketing strategy is best for all companies. Each firm should consider its own size and industry position compared to those of its competitors. Okay. Large firms with dominant positions in industry can use certain strategies that smaller firms cannot afford. But being large is not enough. There are winning strategies for large firms, but there are also losing ones. And small firms can develop strategies that give them better rates of return than large firms enjoy. Now let's talk about that again for a second. Now, when we look at the competitors, we have to look at what is their strategy and what's their strengths and weaknesses. Their strength is maybe that they have more financial buying power. Their weakness is maybe that they are not able to get in the niche that you're able to get into. Or maybe they don't have the same kind of relationships established that you do. Let's talk about Publix, okay? Now, remember that Publix is any group that has an actual potential interest or an impact on the organization's ability to achieve its objectives. It's a very broad definition, but that's what it is. Okay. Now, there are 7 types of Publix. Okay. Number 1, we have financial Publix. What that is it influences the company to build for its ability to obtain funds. Banks, investment analysts, stockholders are major financial Publics. Now, number 2 is your media Publics. They carry news, features, editorial opinions. As you probably figured out by the word media, right? You have news, features, and editorial opinion. It includes newspapers, magazines, television stations, and blogs, and other internet media. I remember something from the publishing of this book. This is 2012. So in 11 years, things have changed. But this is the general idea that we're getting through just to get a general understanding before we get into more specific aspects. Now, with government publics, you have management. It is in the way that management must take government developments into account. Marketers must often consult the company's lawyers on issues of product safety, truth in advertising, and other matters. Okay. You also have citizen action publics. You might ask yourself, what is that, citizen action public? Well, um, companies' marketing decisions may be questioned by consumer organizations, environmental groups, with minority groups, and others. This public relations department can help us stay in touch with consumer and citizens groups. This is kind of like a public relations, kind of, in a way. Now you have your local publics, which is this includes the neighborhood residents, company organizations. Large companies use to create departments and programs that deal with local community issues and provide community support. Okay, so some companies such as P&G that create the brand called Tide, right? They have their own public relations campaign. Okay? Now, the next one is your general public. Companies to be concerned about general public's attitude towards products and activities. The public's image of a company affects its buying. That's the reputation, that's the image. We also have internal publics. That's the group that includes workers. Let me get that. Workers, managers, volunteers, and board of directors. This is basically your employees inside of the company, from employees all the way to top management and board of directors. Large companies use newsletters and other means to inform and motivate their internal publics. When employees feel good about the companies they work for, this positive attitude spills over to external publics. Now, a company can prepare marketing plans for these major publics as well as its customer markets. Suppose a company wants a specific response from a particular public, such as goodwill, favorable word of mouth, donations, or other time or money. The company would have to design an offer to this public that is attractive enough to produce desired results. Now let's talk about the customers. We talked about a lot of the internal forces. Let's talk about the external. So in the book, they've emphasized throughout customers are the most important actors in the company's micro. The aim of the entire value delivery network is to serve target customers and create strong relationships with them. The company might target any of and all five types of the customer markets. Consumer markets also consist of individuals and households that buy goods and services for personal consumption. Business markets buy goods and services for further processing and use of production processes. Right? Whereas reseller markets buy goods and services to resell at a profit. Government markets consist of government agencies that buy goods and services to produce public services or transfer the goods and services to others who need them. Okay, so basically, if you think about that, it's kind of like they have employees who do it or they have contractors. And finally, we have international markets, consist of buyers from in other countries, including consumer, producers, resellers, and governments. Each market type has special characteristics that call for careful study by the seller. I'm just going to take one moment and step out here. We'll take a quick break here for a few minutes, and I will step out just one moment. All right, let's resume here. I just had to step out for a moment there. Let's talk about the macro environment. This is the larger scale environment. Before we talk about that, I'd like to define a couple of terms, at least one term, which is demography. It's the study of human population in terms of size, density, location, age, gender, race, occupation, and other statistics. This is your basic information about your customer. Now, excuse me, the company and all of the other actors operate in a larger macro environment of forces that shape opportunities and pose threats to the company. Farther down, I'm gonna show you an example of what I mean. That's the six major forces in companies' macro environments. And the remaining sections of the chapter will examine the forces and show how they affect marketing plans. Okay? Your environment influences what you can do and how you can do it. It's a limiting factor in a way, but at the same time, depending on what the environment is, it could be like, for example, a door closes and another door opens. Demography is the study of human populations in terms of size, density, location, age, gender, race, occupation, and other statistics. The demographic environment is one of the interests to marketers because it involves people, and people make up markets. The world's population is growing at an explosive rate. It now exceeds 6.8 billion people and is expected to grow to more than 8 billion by year 2030. Of course, that's at the writing of publishing of 2012. Now it's 2023, so it's probably closer to that number. The world's large and highly diverse population poses both opportunities and challenges. Changes in the world demographic environment have major implications for business. Whenever there's a change, it's kind of just like playing chess. Every move the position is different. So think of each move when you're playing chess like each year, or let's say each decade in history, right? After each move, position, the situation is different. That means the opportunities are different. For example, consider China. 30 years ago, to curb its skyrocketing population, the Chinese government passed regulations limiting families to one child each. As a result, China's youth born after 1980 are called Beiling or the Me generation. By the elders have by their elders have been showered with attention and luxuries, resulting in what's known as the Little Emperor or Little Empress syndrome. So, Little Emperor for male, Little Empress for as many as six adults, two parents, and four dating grandparents may be indulging in the whims of each only child. All 600 million of them, almost twice as much as the U.S. population. Parents are only one child at home now spend about 40% of their income on their cherished child. Now let's think about that for a second. That's a demographical change that's a reality in the country. Nowadays, China actually went to a three-child policy, went from a one to a two, and I think as of the other, maybe as of like 3 or 4 years ago, went to a three-child policy. Now, of course, if you don't have enough people, you don't have enough people working, and you don't have enough consumers. There is a balance, okay? If you don't have enough people, your market's not big enough. If you have too many people, then maybe the average buying power is less. It depends on the group though. Excuse me. Now, China's Me generation, now ranging in age from newborns to the early 30s, is affecting markets everything from children's products to financial services, cell phone services, and luxury goods. So if you're the only child, guess what they're going to do? They're going to focus the marketing towards an only child. Right? And they're going to encourage more. They're going to spend more on one kid than other ones. For example, Starbucks is targeting China's Me generation, positioning itself as the kind of informal but indulgent meeting place. Why? Because there's only one kid, so what they would spend is multiplied. China's one-child rule created a generation of people who have been pampered by parents and grandparents and have the means to make indulgent purchases. Instead of believing in traditional Chinese collective goals, these young people embrace individuality, which is basically the philosophy of the West. Their view of this world is very different, says the president of Starbucks Greater China. He said they have never gone through the hardships of our generation. Starbucks is in sync with what he says, given its customized drinks, personalized service, and original music compilations. In the US, most of Starbucks' business is takeaway, says one analyst. It is the opposite of China, meaning young people go to, meaning Starbucks, as a destination to spend hours there. They like to be seen as chic and cosmopolitan. These marketers keep a close eye on demographic trends and developments in their markets, both at home and ahead. They analyze changing age and family structure, geographic population shifts, and educational characteristics and population diversity. Here we discuss the most important demographic trends in the United States. So nowadays in China, it's different than in the US. Let's talk about the changing age structure of the population. The US population is currently at 310 million people. This was at the time of the publishing of this book in 2012. And reach about 364 million by 2030, which is pretty realistic because I think it's about 350 by now. The single most important demographic trend in the United States is changing age structure of the population. The US population contains several generational groups. Here we discuss the largest groups. We have the baby boomers, the Generation X, and millennials, and impact on today, and their impact on today's marketing strategies. So each one of those age groups is a different demographic. You have to market to them differently. Okay? Now, with the baby boomers, the post World War II baby boom produced 78 million baby boomers who were born between 1946 and 1964. Over the years, baby boomers have been one of the most powerful forces shaping the marketing environment. The youngest baby boomers are now in their mid 40s. The oldest ones are in their 60s, producing retirement. Now, this is as of 2012. Now, if you just add 11 years to it. Maturing boomers are rethinking the purpose and value of their work, responsibilities, and relationships. Okay? This is an attitudinal difference. Okay? Now let's talk about this diagram. You notice with the company we have 6 considerations. We have the demographic, the economic, the natural, we have the technological. These are ways in which we can conduct business, such as we can do in person, we can do, or we can do over the internet. Political, politics changes every few years anyway. We have culture. Culture, every generation is different. Okay. We have economics, because sometimes the economy is good or sometimes it's bad. Demographic, it's every generation is different. Now, after years of prosperity, free spending, and saving little, the Great Recession hit many baby boomers hard, especially the pre-retirement boomers. The sharp decline in stock prices and home values ate into their nest eggs and retirement prospects. As a result, many baby boomers are now spending more carefully and planning to work longer. Here's the key thing: spending more carefully. Okay? And he says you have a huge group of retirement baby boomers, a huge number of people who are asking, "Can I live off my savings and Social Security for the rest of my life?" Okay? These are more of your frugal spenders. And these require a different marketing strategy than other ones. Says one economist, he says a whopping 70% of American community between age 45 and 74 plan to work during their retirement years, both for enjoyment and because they need the money. However, although some might be feeling the post-recession pinch, baby boomers are still the wealthiest generation in U.S. history. Today's baby boomers account for 25% of the U.S. population and hold about 75% of the nation's financial assets, and account for about 50% of all total consumer spending. They spend about $2 trillion a year. As they reach their peak earnings and spending years, the boomers will continue to constitute a lucrative market for financial services, new housing, home remodeling, travel, and entertainment, eating out, health, and fitness products, and just about everything else. Here's what's important as demographical information. 25% of the U.S. population do what? Holds 75% of the nation's financial assets. Okay? That's the second statistic for the demographical information. And 50% of the total consumer spending. Because they need to know who's doing the spending. Okay? All right. One study showed that boomers on average see themselves 12 years younger than they actually are. And rather than viewing themselves as phasing out, they see themselves as entering new life phases. They are more active baby boomers, sometimes called Zoomers. Are baby boomers with zip, have no intention of abandoning their youthful lifestyles as they age. Well, it depends on the person, right? It's time to throw out the notion that only things marketable to, meaning the older boomers, are chiropractic mattress, arthritis drugs, and meaning stayed cruises, says one marketer. He goes on to say that boomers have sought the fountain of youth through all stages of life and have incorporated aspects to play and fun into everything from careers to cars. Toyota recognizes these changing boomer life phases. Ads for its Toyota Highlander shows empty nest boomers and declare, quote, "For your newfound freedom," unquote. Similarly, Curves Fitness centers uh, target boomers and women. Curves older regulars, quote, "want to be strong and fit," says one expert. Quote, "They don't want to just go into Gold's Gym and be surrounded with spandex-clad Barbie dolls." Perhaps no one is targeting the baby boomers more fervently than the financial services industry. Collectively, the baby boomers have earned $3.7 trillion, more than twice as much as the members of the prior generation. They'll also be inheriting $7.2 trillion as their parents pass away, thus especially in the aftermath of the Great Recession, and the boomers will need lots of money management to help as they approach retirement. Merrill Lynch recently launched a marketing campaign aimed at helping boomers with retirement planning. Right? So as you can see that what they're doing is they're taking all this information in and they're saying, okay, this is what they do, this is their habits, and these are their values. These are their activities. What they do is they make a marketing message that targets all that information. Okay? Now, stereotypical retirement ads from financial institutions. So, attractive older couples on the beach enjoying the idyllic golden years. Well, in this industry, everybody, meaning most always, talks about the future when you retire, says the head of Merrill Lynch's wealth management unit. But the new Merrill Lynch retirement planning campaign talks about now, about the retirement hurdles that people face in getting ready for retirement, themed help to, as in the number two, retire. It's a space, whatever in quotes. And it says, read help to retire blank. The campaign encourages 50-plus-year-olds to fill in the blank with aspects of their current working and financial lives that they'd like so they can focus on what matters in retirement planning. The newer term would be, it's not new term, but newer term would be bucket lists, as in what they want to do before they die. Different as just words such as help to retire confusion, cold feet, or guesswork. Merrill Lynch research shows the recession-tempered boomers are cautiously optimistic about retirement, but need help planning for it. Merrill wants to provide that help in the form of personalized financial advice. Merrill is approaching the topic from both a rational and emotional standpoint. Excuse me. It's not about quote the numbers unquote, but about the quote life goals unquote. Says the head of Merrill Lynch's wealth management. And he says it's not just about aspiring to get a second home like a warm location, meaning anymore. It's about spending more time with your family and friends and relieving, since I meant to say relieving, the anxiety around the guesswork that so many, meaning boomers, are feeling. So here's what it is. It's playing on their emotions, and it's playing on their values and their wants to create a customized message for them. Now, Generation X is the baby boom that was followed by the birth dearth, creating another generation of 49 million people born between 1965 and 1976, which should be me, because I was born in 76. Arthur Douglas Coupland calls Generation X because they live in the shadow of the boomers and lack obvious distinguishing characteristics, which I believe is true. The Generation X are defined much by their shared experience as by their age. Increasing parental divorce rates, higher employment for their mothers made them the first generation of latchkey kids. Although they seek success, they are less materialistic. That's also true. They prize experience, not acquisition. For many, the Gen Xers are parents, which family comes first, both children and their aging parents, and career second. From a marketing standpoint, here we go. From a marketing standpoint, Gen Xers are more skeptical bunch. They tend to research products before they consider a purchase, prefer quality to quantity, and tend to be less receptive to overt marketing pitches. So with this, we need to have a natural conversation where you tell them you'd like to help them with their goals or with their needs. How can we help you with the approach and the presentation? Does matter. Now, once labeled as quote the MTV generation, as viewed as body-piercing slackers who whined about McJobs, and Gen Xers have grown up and now are taking over. They increasingly displacing the lifestyles, cultures, and values of the baby boomers. They are moving up in their careers. Many are proud homeowners with young and growing families. They are the most educated generation to date, and they possess hefty annual purchasing power. However, like the baby boomers, Gen Xers are facing growing economic pressures. There you go. Right? Growing economic pressures. Important thing about an economy. Like almost everywhere else these days, they're spending more carefully. Information is quite simple, but what you need to do is you take all this information, put it together, and include it into a marketing message. I think that's a good idea to talk about this information here because that is typical and it explains the generation. So I think that part is good. That's a good part of what's in this. This is a good part of the book, of course. Still, with much potential, many brands and organizations are focusing on Gen Xers as a prime target segment. For example, the Virginia Tourism Corporation, a state tourism arm, is now targeting Gen X families. Virginia's 40-year romance with the baby boomer generation is waning. Virginia Tourism Corporation, or VTC, best known for enduring, quote, Virginia is for lovers, unquote, campaign, is now working with the audience Generation X. The younger and more adventuresome, and they spend more money on travel in Virginia. VTC research shown in the Generation X household contributed about 45% of the $19.2 billion spent on travel in Virginia each year. Excuse me. Whereas most boomers are done or almost done with child rearing and lean towards more exotic travel locations farther from home. More exotic travel locations farther from home. Generation X's are new families who need new experiences close to home, says Alice Bailey, CEO and president of BTC. Well, they want beaches, good places to relax, warm, friendly people. They love amusement theme parks, and they want places that are good for what they call soft adventure, like canoeing and hiking. Don't worry, the slogan won't change. Well, what will change, explains Bailey, unquote, is our strategy toward the younger market. We'll be showing more Gen X families in our marketing. It will be more family-oriented campaign, unquote. VTC plans to use Facebook, Twitter, and blogs to help reach Generation X households. Now, the last part, Facebook, Twitter, and blogs, is something more for the millennials than it is the Gen Xers. But the younger uh, part or the younger segment of the Gen Xers use more of the social media. Now, let's talk about millennials. Both the baby boomers and Gen Xers will one day be passing reins to the millennials, so-called Gen Y or Echo boomers. Born between 1977 and 2000, these children of the baby boomers number 83 million, dwarfing the Gen Xers and larger even than the baby boomer segment. This group includes several age cohorts, which are tweens, ages 10 to 12, teens, which is ages 13 to 18, and young adults 19 to 33. With total purchasing power of more than 733 billion, millennials are huge and an attractive market. Now, the important thing is which one does most of the spending. What you can do is you can advertise generally to them, but there'll be different products. For example, the young adults have different products that are appropriate for them than the teens and definitely the tweens. That's something to consider with the millennials or the Gen Y. One thing that the millennials will have in common is their utter fluency and comfort with digital technology. They don't just embrace technology, it's a way of life. The millennials were the first generation to go up a world filled with computers, cell phones, satellite TVs, iPods, and online social networks. A recent study found that 91% of millennials are on the web, making 32% of all U.S. internet users. According to another study, 77% of millennials frequent social media sites, social networking sites, and 71% use instant messaging. Now, this was as of 2012, but those are key statistics, which is good, which I think is good in this book as they talk about statistics. 32% of all US internet users, 91% of millennials are on the web, and 71% use instant messaging. Instant messaging is not something new because I remember it even in 2000 when it was first coming out. But now there's different forms of instant messaging. So anyway, all generations are comfortable with technology, but this is the generation that's been formed by technology, says a Yahoo executive. For them, well, it's not something separate, it's just something they do. I can tell you that's quite accurate because when I grew up, I did not have a computer, I did not have a cell phone, an iPod, or instant messaging. You know how people communicated? They picked up the phone and called somebody, or they wrote a letter. Or the third option was they saw them in person. You understand what I mean? Now, let's go on with this section where it says marketers of all kinds now target the millennials segment, from automakers to political campaigns. Millennials are bombarded with marketing messages coming from all directions. However, rather than having mass marketing message pushed at them, they prefer to seek out information, engage in a two-way brand conversations. Okay, here's the excuse me. Here's the key things. Um, Rather than having mass marketing message pushed at them, what do they prefer? They prefer to seek out information and engage in two-way brand conversations. As in, this person thinks so, the person I talk to thinks or doesn't think so. Thus, reaching these message-saturated consumers effectively requires creating marketing approaches. Consider how Barack Obama president campaign succeeded in reaching this group. Quote, Barack Obama was the first presidential candidate to be with marketed like a high-end consumer brand. Unquote. Observed Newsweek reporter. His rising sun logo echoes the one world icons of PepsiCo, AT&T, and Apple. What 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 really set the Obama campaign apart was its immense appeal to millennials, the country's youngest voters. The campaign's mastery of cutting-edge social media, such as www.my.barackobama.com website, was optimized for millennial appeal. For this generation, quote, the new pronoun is me, my, says a marketing expert. Quote, young people want to be in control of their relationship with the brand. They want to customize and personalize, unquote. The Obama campaign site allowed just that with its use of tagging, discussion boards, photo uploads, and other interactive elements. In addition, Obama enlisted 8 million volunteers using social networking sites, attracted 2 million friends on Facebook, and drew 90 million viewers to his video presentations on YouTube. On election day, Obama team sent text messages to millions of young supporters. The Obama campaign didn't merely just use young volunteers as most campaigns do. It created a campaign specifically designed by and for today's tech-happy millennial generation, using the communication tools young people rely on and trust. The result? Young people turned out to the polls in record numbers, with fully 66% favoring Obama, turning the tide his way in several key states. All right. All right. So you see this idea where he understood his demographics, and he used technology to push his campaign. Understand? Let's talk about generation marketing. Okay? Do marketers need to create separate products and marketing programs for each generation? Some experts warn that marketers need to be careful about turning off one generation each time they craft a product or message that appeals effectively to another. Others caution that each generation spends decades of time in many social economic levels. For example, marketers of often split the baby boomers into three smaller groups: leading edge boomers, core boomers, and trailing edge boomers, each with its own beliefs and behaviors. Right? If you want to subdivide your message into very specific marketing message, you can do it. Now, similarly, split the millennials into tweens, teens, and young adults. This depends on their age. Thus, marketers need to form more precise age-specific segments within each group. More important is that defining people by their birth date may be less effective than segmenting them into lifestyle life stage, the common values they seek, and the products they buy. We will discuss many other ways to segment markets in Chapter 7, which we'll do either next week or the week after, depending on how many of these I get in this week and next week. Let's talk about a demographical change called the changing American family. Traditional household consists of a husband, wife, children, and sometimes grandparents. Yet, the once American ideal of a two-child, two-car suburban family has lately been losing some of its luster. In the United States today, married couples with children represent about 22% of the nation's 117 million households. Married couples without children represent 29%, and single parents are another 11%. Keep in mind this was as of 2012. Okay? A full 38% of non-family households, those are singles living alone and adults of one or both sexes living together. More people are divorcing or separating and choosing not to marry, marrying later, or marrying without intending to have children. Now, marketers must increasingly consider the special needs of non-traditional households because they're now growing more rapidly than traditional households. Each group has its distinctive needs and buying habits. So that's the important thing. Each group has its distinctive needs and buying habits. The number of working women has also increased greatly, growing from under 40% of the U.S. workforce in the late 1950s 59 to 59% today, as of 2012. Both husband and wife work together in 59% of all married couple families. Meanwhile, more men are staying home with their children, managing the household with their wives going to work. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the number of stay-at-home dads has risen from 18% since 1994. Some 158,000 fathers now stay at home. A significant number of women in the workforce has spawned the daycare child business and increased the consumption of career-oriented women's clothing, financial services, convenience foods, and services. And I highlighted here the number of working women has also increased greatly, growing from under 40% in the U.S. workforce in the 50s to 59% today. Right now, Royal Caribbean targets time-crunched working moms with its budget-friendly family vacations are easy to plan, certain to wow the family. Royal Caribbean estimates that through the vacation are a joint decision. 80% of all trips are planned and booked by women. Moms are pressed for time whether they work or not. Well, we want to make sure that we want to make sure that you're the hero. That when the family comes on the ship, it's going to be a great experience for all of them. Says a senior marketer at Royal Caribbean. Unquote. And that you, mom, and what has done all the planning and the scheduling get to enjoy the vacation. Remember, we talked about there's also geographical shifts in the population. When people move, that changes the marketing as well. There's a period of great migratory movements between and within countries. Americans, for example, are a mobile people are with about 15% of all U.S. residents moving each year. Over the past 2 decades, the U.S. population has shifted towards the Sun Belt states. The West and the South have grown, whereas the Midwest and Northeast states have lost population. Such population shifts interest marketers because people in those regions buy differently. Okay? That's the bottom line. For example, people in the Midwest buy more winter clothing than the one in the Southeast, which makes sense because it's the Midwest. Um, Also, for more than a century, Americans have been moving from rural to metropolitan areas. In the 1950s, they made a massive exit from the cities to the suburbs. Today, the migration to the suburb continues, and more Americans are moving to micropolitan areas, which are small cities located beyond congested metropolitan areas, such as Bozeman, Montana, Natchez, Mississippi, Torrington, Connecticut. Drawing refugees from the rural and suburban America, these smaller micros offer more of the advantages of the metro areas, which are jobs, restaurants, diversions, and community organizations, but without the population crush and the traffic jams. The shift in where people has also caused the shift in where they work. For example, the migration toward micropolitan and suburban areas have resulted in rapid increase in the number of people who will telecommute or work at home, or in a remote office that conducted their business by phone, fax, modem, or on the internet. This trend is in turn created as becoming SOHO, which is small office home office market. An increasingly number of people are working from home with the help of electronic conveniences such as PC, smartphones, and broadband internet access. This is a big consideration because it basically says this is how they're conducting business. Okay. Excuse me. One recent study estimates that more than one half of the American businesses now support some kind of telecommuting program, and 5.9 million Americans work solely from home. Now it's a lot more now, especially since the pandemic of 2020. So now it's 2023. It's probably several times as much as that, but that was as of 2012. Many marketers are now relatively courting the lucrative telecommuting market. Sorry, excuse me. For example, WebEx, the web conferencing division of Cisco, helps overcome the isolation that often accompanies telecommuting. With WebEx, people can meet and collaborate online via computer or smartphone, no matter what their work location. All you need to run effective online meetings is a browser and a phone, says the company with WebEx. People working anywhere can interact with their individuals or small groups to make presentations, exchange documents, and share desktops, complete with audio and full motion video. A better educated, more white collar, more professional population. The U.S. population is becoming better educated. For example, in 2007, 87% of the U.S. population over age 25 has completed high school, and 30% have completed college, compared with 69% and 17% respectively in 1980. Moreover, nearly two-thirds of high school graduates now enroll in college within 12 months of graduating. The rising number of educated people increases the demand in quality products, books, travel, computers, and internet services. And this is another important thing to note demographically. Now, I will say now that more and more people are not going to college, that trend is actually reversed, simply because the industries, IT industry is not requiring a degree anymore. So because this is 2012, that trend hasn't come into place, but that trend has been around since like 2000, sorry, since like 2016. So that's when it started, and it's really going to affect even more so now. I'll give you an example. Being a software programmer, you don't need to go to college for that. You can either do a self study, take the information, learn online, or you can go to like some software boot camp, coding boot camp, pay a fraction of what it would cost to get a degree, and you can qualify to work in that field. The workforce is also becoming more white collar. Between 1983 and 2007, the proportion of managers and professionals in the workforce increased 23% more than 36, from 23% to more than 36%. Job growth is the strongest for professional workers and weakest for manufacturing workers. Between 2008 and 2018, the number of professional workers is expected to increase 17%, while manufacturing workers are expected to decline more than 24%. Right? So this is the trends. This is what they said about trends. You have to pay attention to trends. We also have increasing diversity, part of the demographic. Countries vary from their ethnic and racial makeup. At one extreme in Japan, where almost everyone is Japanese, at the other extreme in the United States, people of virtually all nations. The United States have often been called it's been often called the melting pot, where diverse groups from many nations and cultures have melted into a single, more homogeneous whole. Instead, the United States seems to have become more of a salad bowl in which various groups have mixed together and have maintained their diversity by maintaining and valuing other ethnic and cultural differences. Eventually, so that first generation coming here is basically going to be ethnically maintained. Second generation is going to be more Americanized, so which I think is a fair thing because if you go to a country, you have to accept its culture or don't live there. So basically, that's how it is. I do understand that personally because I have traveled and lived in other countries, so I understand that. Now, continuing on. Marketers now face increasingly diverse markets, both at home and abroad, with their operations becoming more international in scope. This is a very important thing. We're looking at demographical, including geographical and cultural considerations. U.S. population is about 63% white, with Hispanics about 16%, African Americans about 13.6%. The U.S. Asian population now totals about 4.9% of the population, which with the remaining 2.5% being American Indian, Eskimo, Aleut, and two other races. Now, by now, because of the declining population, you're finding that that whites are closer to like 40, 40 something to early 50%. All the races have almost halved in their population. But in terms of percentage, you found that actually Asians have increased a lot, Hispanics have increased a lot, blacks have decreased, gone even more decreased. Also, whites have decreased, but whites is about 40 to 50% of the population. From what I've seen recently in the population statistics. More, moreover, more than 34 million people living in the United States, more than 12% of the population were born in another country. The nation's ethnic populations are expected to explode in coming decades. By 2050, Hispanics are expected to be an estimated 24% of the population. African Americans will hold steady about 13%. Asians will double to 9%. Actually, it's even more than that now. whites, I think it's about 40 something to 50%. And you'll see that each generation has less and less kids. So what's going to happen actually is you'll have a demographical crisis because while the population decreases, right? Um, you'll have less and less people that will be able to work, contribute to the economy, and be able to have buying power as well because they're not contributing to the economy. Most large companies like P&G, Walmart, Allstate, and Bank of America, to Levi Strauss, and Volkswagen, now target specifically designed products, ads, and promotions to one or more of these groups. For example, Volkswagen recently ran an ad winning, award-winning award-winning campaign to introduce its Roll-On minivan to the Hispanic community. Yeah, basically, that's a good point that the book has pointed out because basically what they're focusing on is a customized product offering that will be liked by that demographic. Now, researching core markets with the Hispanic minivan prospects show that in contrary to Happy Serenity competitors, campaigns show chaos rules in the minivan or family outings. So Volkswagen built a Spanish language campaign to show how its Rutan minivan could help Hispanic families in managing mayhem. The campaign tells the story of Rotan as a comfortable mini-feature vehicle engineered with the whole family in mind. In a spot called Spill, one kid spills a bottle of water on her brother, who strips off his wet clothes and shows it, and stows them in a storage compartment. In Frog, which is in parentheses, a frog escapes from the shoebox and hops all over the car from the roomy storage compartments to the soft leather seats until the father takes advantage of the smooth steering and suspension to quickly stop the car and eject the frog. The Mayhem campaign creates a unique positioning for the Rotan within the Hispanic community. Initial sales of minivans to Hispanics were proportionally much higher than Volkswagen's overall Hispanic sales, which account for almost 10% of the total U.S. VW sales. Volkswagen later extended its campaign to English to non-Hispanic markets as well. And I would comment that their original market was non-Hispanics because it is a German car company. Diversity goes beyond ethnic heritage. For example, many major companies explicitly target gay and lesbian consumers. According to the estimate, 6% to 7% of U.S. adults who identify themselves as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, which is known as LGBT, have buying power of $712 billion. Simmons' research study of readers of the National Gay Newspaper Guild's all publications found that compared to the average American, LGBT responders are 12 times more likely to be in professional jobs, twice as likely to own a vacation home, 8 times more likely to own a notebook computer, and twice as likely to own individual stocks. More than two-thirds of them have graduated from college, and 21% of them hold a master's degree. So this was an ongoing trend until recently. That is, politics have changed where people are less accepting of this because of how the woke culture and this politically correct culture has been encountered in society. Now, here's some examples. They point out some examples of that. Now, companies in a wide range of industries are now targeting the LGBT community with gay-specific marketing efforts. For example, American Airlines has a dedicated LGBT sales teams sponsoring gay community events and offers a special gay-oriented website. The airline focus on gay consumers has also earned it a double-digit revenue growth from the LGBT community each year for more than a decade. So basically, they're just focusing on each demographic that spends money, basically. Moving on, another attractive diversity segment is the nearly 60 million U.S. adults with disabilities. A market larger than African Americans or Hispanics, representing more than $200 billion in annual spending power. Most individuals with disabilities are active consumers. For example, one study found that more than two-thirds of adults with disabilities have traveled at least once for business or pleasure during the preceding 2 years. 31% had booked at least one flight, more than half have stayed in hotels, and 20% have rented a car. More than 75% of people with disabilities sign out at least once per week. See that? More than 75% of people with disabilities sign out at least once per week. It's important buying habits information. Okay? Now, sometimes companies will have targeted campaigns, promotion campaigns, such as targeting consumers with disabilities. Samsung features people with disabilities in mainstream advertising and signs endorsement deals with the Paralympic athletes. Now, how are companies trying to reach consumers with disabilities? Many marketers now recognize the worlds of people with disabilities, and those with disabilities are one and the same. Marketers such as McDonald's, Verizon Wireless, Nike, Samsung, and Honda have featured people with disabilities in their mainstream advertising. For instance, Samsung and Nike sign endorsement deals with Paralympic athletes and feature them in advertising. Why? Because that's the type of people, because they have a campaign to target people in that demographic, okay? Other companies use specially targeted media to reach that attractive segment. So you can use an event or a TV like event, multi-day event to do that as well. Now you can also, in this case, also use the web. The website www.thisaboom.com reaches people with disabilities through social networking features akin to Facebook combined with relevant information. Everything from medical news to cancer advice, dating resources, and travel tips. Several large marketers, including J&J, Netflix, Avis, GM, and Ford, advertise on thisaboom.com. Ford uses the site to highlight its mobility motoring program. Among other things, the program provides $1,000 allowances for new car buyers to defray costs of adding adaptive equipment such as a wheelchair or scooter lifts, pedal extensions, and steering wheel knobs. Marketing at thisaboom.com has, quote, been on a new concept for us, and we're pleased with the performance so far, unquote. As Ford's mobility motoring manager. As the population in the United States grows more diverse, successful marketers will continue to diversify their marketing programs and take advantage of opportunities in fast-growing segments. I like that conclusion at the end. Kind of puts it all together, so I like that. That's pretty good. Now let's talk about the economic environment. Marketers require buying power as well as people. The economic environment consists of economic factors that affect consumer purchasing power and spending patterns. Marketers pay close attention to major trends in consumer spending patterns both across and within the world markets. Nations vary greatly in their levels and distribution of income. Some countries have industrial economies which constitute rich markets for which many different types of goods. At the other extreme are subsistence economies that consume most of their own agricultural and industrial output and offer few market opportunities. In between, developing economies that can only offer outstanding marketing opportunities for the right kind of products. Consider India with a population of more than 1.1 billion people. In the past, only India's elite could afford to buy a car. In fact, only 1 in 7 Indians now owns one. Of course, that's now as of 2012, so that statistic should be a little out of date, but that was probably accurate as of 2012. It's probably double that now, if I were to guess. But recent dramatic changes in India's economy have produced a growing middle class and a rapidly rising incomes. Now, to meet the new demand, European, North American, and Asian automakers are introducing smaller, more affordable vehicles in India. But they'll have to find a way to compete with India's Tata Motors, which markets the least expensive car ever in the world. The Tata Nano, dubbed the people's car. The Tata Nano sells for about 100,000 rupees, which is about $2,500. That's pretty cheap. It can seat 4 passengers, gets 50 miles per gallon, and travels at a top speed of 60 miles per hour. Okay, so it doesn't travel that fast, but it's sufficient. The ultra low cost car is designed to be India's Model T, the car that puts a developing nation on wheels. Can you imagine now a car that within the reach of all? As an annual advertisement, now you can comes the answer. Honda hopes that 1 million of those people of those vehicles. Sorry, they sell 1 million of those vehicles per year. So that is a major marketing strategy. Is that you target the lower end market, so that way you can target more. And that way you can also target not only the lower end market, but you can target as many people as possible. Even cross platform possibly. Now we have changes in consumer spending. Economic factors have a dramatic effect on consumer spending and buying behavior. For example, until fairly recently, American consumers spent freely, fueled by income growth, a boom in the stock market, rapid increase in housing values, and other economic good fortunes. They bought and bought seemingly without caution, amassing record levels of debt. However, the free spending and high expectation of those days were dashed by the Great Recession, says one economist. For a generation substituted rising home equity stock prices with personal savings. The economic meltdown, meaning was, psychologically wrenching after a century of unquestioned prosperity. Referring back to chapter 1, consumers now have adopted a back to the basics frugality in their lifestyles and spending patterns that will likely persist for years to come. They are buying less and less for greater value in the things that they do buy. In turn, value marketing has become the watchword for many marketers. Marketers in all industries are looking for ways for today's more financially cautious buyers, greater value just as the right combination of product quality and good service at a fair price. So just because they have less to spend doesn't mean that you abandon them as a customer. That is. You would expect value pitches from makers of everyday products. For example, alongside milk mustache ads featuring glamorous celebrities such as Brooke Shields and Beyonce Knowles, you'll see some featuring celebrity financial advisor Susie Orman telling consumers how to milk your budget. And discounter at Kohl's offers style and savings inspiration. However, these days, even luxury brand marketers are emphasizing good value. For instance, upscale car brand Infiniti now promises to, quote, make luxury affordable. Let's talk about income distribution. Marketers should pay attention to income distribution as well as the income levels. So basically, this is the potential disposable income that the consumer has. Over the past several decades, rich have grown richer, the middle class has shrunk, and the poor have remained poor. The top 5% of Americans earners get more than 21% of the country's adjusted gross income. and 20% of the earners capture 49% of the income. That's a staggering statistic. Pretty amazing when you think about it. Now, in contrast, the bottom 40% of American earners just get 13% of the total income. The distribution of income has created a tiered market. Many companies, such as Nordstrom and Neiman Marcus, aggressively target the affluent. Others, such as Dollar General and Family Dollar, target those with modest means. In fact, dollar stores are now the fastest growing retailers in the nation. So other companies tailor their marketing, okay, offers across a range of markets from the affluent to the less affluent. For example, Outfitters L, being long known for timeless affordable apparel and accessories, recently broadened its appeal by introducing an upscale signature collection. Shaped by designer Alex Carlton, the new line competes with more fashion-forward wares of J. Crew, Ralph Lauren's rugby line. The collection, everything from chinos to evening wear, and the Bean's heritage tote, hints of LL Bean's main roots and has an edgier look and feel, and of course, higher prices. The heritage tote, for example, sells for $189.39. So with that, you're targeting another demographic. You've increased the potential customers you can sell to, and of course, increase the total revenue, which is the ultimate goal. And changes with major economic variables such as income, cost of living, interest rates, and savings and borrowing patterns have a large impact in the marketplace. Let's look at that premise here. Now, companies watch these variables by using single economic forecasting. Businesses do not have to be wiped out by an economic downturn or caught short in a boom. With adequate warning, they take advantage of changes in the economic environment. Now let's talk about the natural environment. The natural environment involves the natural resources that are needed. Inputs by marketers are often affected by marketing activities. Um, Environmental concerns have rapidly grown steadily over the past 3 decades. In many cities around the world, air and water pollution have reached dangerous levels. World concern continues to mount about the possibility of global warming, and many environmentalists fear that we'll soon be buried in our own trash. Well, I don't agree with that statement because there's always ways like burning, like recycling, and a lot of the stuff like recycling has been going on since the 90s, so I think that's more of an exaggeration than anything else. But anyway, the natural environment does matter. Marketers should be aware of several trends in the natural environment. The first involves growing shortages of raw materials. Air and water may be infinite resources, but some groups see long run dangers. Air pollution chokes many of the world's large cities, and water shortages are already a big problem in some parts of the United States and the world. By 2030, more than 1 in 3 of the world's population will not have enough water to drink. Renewable resources such as forests and food also have to be used wisely. Non-renewable resources such as oil, coal, and various minerals pose a serious problem. Firms making products that require these scarce resources face large cost increases, even if the materials remain available. So that is basically the conditions that they're working with in the natural environment. A second natural trend is called increased pollution. So we look at trends in your environment. Industry will also Industry will almost always damage the quality of the natural environment. Consider the disposal of chemical and nuclear waste. dangerous mercury levels in the ocean, the quantity of chemical pollutants in the soil and food supply, and the littering of the environment in the non-biodegradable bottles and plastics and packaging materials. Now, this is actually an issue that China encountered as it was progressing since the late 1970s, and it turned out it ruined the soil to the point where only 40% of the soil was fertile. And they've spent at least a decade or more to reverse the process. However, it takes time to reverse the process. Okay? But that's supposedly what they were working on. I'm assuming they still are, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, they were working on that. And because of that, what happens is that they now import quite a lot of food. So the marketing is centered around the quality and the safety of the food in the place where they're going to get it. The third trend of increased government intervention is natural resource management. The governments of different countries vary in their concerns and efforts to promote a clean energy environment. Some, like the German government, vigorously pursue environmental equality. Others, especially many poorer nations, do little about pollution, largely because they lack needed funds or political will. Even richer nations lack the vast funds and political accord needed to mount a worldwide environmental efforts. The general hope is that the companies around the world will accept. Right? What will they do? Accept more social responsibility and less expensive devices found to control and reduce pollution. Right? So there was a need created right there. And whenever there's a problem, there's a business opportunity. So when you look in the when you look across markets, right, different industries, what you do is you look at problems or what solutions are necessary or what are solutions are being called for. That will give you your opportunity and that will tell you what to market. In the United States, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, was created in 1970 to create and enforce pollution standards and conduct pollution research. In the future, companies doing business in the United States can expect continued strong controls from government and pressure groups. Instead of opposing regulations, marketers should help develop solutions. Here's what marketers' role is. Marketers should help develop solutions for material and energy problems facing the world. Remember I said when there's a problem, there's an opportunity? Well, there you go. Concern for the natural environment has spawned the so-called green movement. Today, enlightened companies go beyond what government regulations dictate. They are developing strategies and practices that support environmental sustainability, which is an effort to create a world economy that the planet can support indefinitely. They're responding to consumer demand with more environmentally responsible products. For example, GE is using its equal imagination to create products from all around the world. Cleaner aircraft engines, cleaner locomotives, cleaner fuel technologies. Taken together, for instance, all of GE energy and wind turbines in the world could produce about 2.4 million US or 2.4 million US homes. And in 2005, GE launched its Evolution Series locomotives diesel engines that cut fuel consumption by 5% and emissions by 40% compared to locomotives built just a year earlier. Up next is a triumph of sheer coolness, or the author, of course. It's a GE hybrid diesel electric locomotive that, like a Prius, captures energy from braking and reduces fuel consumption by 15% and emissions by as much as 50% compared to locomotives in use today. So basically, what they're doing is they're saying, okay, they perceive something as a need, they perceive that the people have a need and a want for something. They show that the value through its results, and then they continue with repeat business by improving upon what they have already. Now, other companies are developing recyclable and biodegradable packaging, recycled materials, components, better pollution controls, more energy efficient operations. For example, PepsiCo, which owns brands ranging from Frito-Lay and Pepsi, the Quaker, Gatorade, and Tropicana is working to dramatically reduce its environmental footprint. PepsiCo markets hundreds of products that are grown, produced, and consumed worldwide. Making and distributing products requires water, electricity, and fuel. In 2007, the company set as its goal to reduce water consumption by 20%, electricity consumption by 20%, and fuel consumption by 25% per unit of production by 2015. As I said before, now it's 2023. This book was written in 2012, so you have to understand it in its context. It's already well on its way to meeting these goals. For example, a solar panel field now generates power for 3/4 of the heat used in Frito-Lay's Modesto, California Sunchips plant, and Sunchips himself becoming the world's first 100% combustible package. A wind turbine now supplies more than 2/3 of the power at PepsiCo's beverage plant in Mamandar, India. On the packaging front, PepsiCo company currently introduced now half-liter bottles of its Lipton iced tea, Tropicana juice, Aquafina Flavor Splash, and Aquafina Alive beverages that contain 20% less plastic than its original packaging. This will tell it how you conduct part of the marketing, the end set of the marketing. Remember how they partnered with other companies for intermediaries? When they partner with the intermediaries, they give it this specific information, what to manufacture for its packaging, because the packaging itself also adds value to the brand. Okay? Aquafina has trimmed the amount of plastic used in its bottles by 35% since 2002, saving 50 million pounds of plastic annually. Companies today are looking to do more than just good deeds. More and more, they're recognizing the link between healthy ecology and a healthy economy. And this is also a consideration for marketing. This is a value set that's in the demographics. They're learning that environmental responsible actions are good business. This is a demand in the environment. Now let's talk about the technological environment. Now the technological environment is perhaps the most dramatic force now shaping our destiny. Technology has released such wonders as antibiotics, robotic surgery, miniaturized electronics, smartphones, and the internet. It's also released such horrors as nuclear missiles, chemical weapons, and assault rifles. It has released such mixed blessings as the automobile, television, and credit cards. Our attitude toward technology depends on whether we are impressed with its wonders or its blunders. New technology can offer exciting opportunities for marketers. For example, what you think about having little transmitters implanted in all the products you buy, which allow tracking of the products from their point of production to the use and disposal. So that would be in the packaging, not the food itself, of course. Okay, so that's one example there. That's basically what's called testing the market. So that's basically when you test out the market, you can see how consumers respond to a new product, feature, or offering. On one hand, it would provide many advantages to both buyers and sellers. On the other hand, it could be a bit scary. Either way, it's already happening. Envision a world in which every product contains a teeny transmitter loaded with information. What they're referring to, it's like a barcode. They've been doing this since the 90s. It's like a barcode you put on top of a product. or which goes off if it hasn't been disabled to prevent theft. As you stroll through the supermarket aisles, shelf sensors detect your selections and beam ads to the shopping cart screen, offering special deals on related products. As your cart fills, scanners detect that you might be buying for a dinner party. The screen suggests a wine to go with the meal you planned. When you leave the store, exit scanners total up the purchase and automatically charge them to your credit card. At home, readers track what goes into and out of your pantry, updating your shopping list when stocks run low. For Sunday dinner, you pop a butterball turkey into your smart oven, which follows instructions from an embedded chip and cooks the bird to perfection. Some seems far-fetched, not really. In fact, it might soon be a reality thanks to something called radio frequency identification or RFID, can now be embedded in the products you buy. Now, this is more what they're referring to is more what's called artificial intelligence. Is basically it's a technology that's software based that is allows for the software or hardware. So that basically the process itself to learn your buying habits and suggest something uh, what would correspond with the patterns of buying that you have. Now, many firms are already using RFID technology to track products through the various points of the distribution channel. Okay? For example, Walmart has strongly encouraged suppliers to shipping products to the distribution center to apply RFID tags to their pallets. Okay? This is for example. So far, more than 600 Walmart suppliers are doing so, and clothing retailer American Apparel uses RFID to manage inventory. Okay, what is it used for? Used to manage inventory in its retail stores. Every stacked item that carries an RFID tag, which is scanned at the receiving docks at the time of it going into inventory. American Apparel puts only one of the items on the store floor at a time. When the item is sold, a point of sale RFID reader alerts that the inventory system and prompts employees to bring a replacement one onto the floor. After RFID reader located between the stock room and the store floor checks to see if whether that was done. And all the system creates inventory efficiencies and ensures the right items are always on the sales floor. So that's kind of the intersection between warehouse management and marketing. As a result, American Apparel stores with RFID systems average 14% higher sales, but 15% lower stockroom inventories than other stores. And the chain's RFID stores require 20 to 30% fewer staff because employers do not have to spend 5 or more hours a day doing manual inventory checks. The technological environment changes rapidly. Think of all of today's common products that were not available 100 years ago or even 30 years ago. Abraham Lincoln did not know about automobiles, airplanes, radios, and electric light. Woodrow Wilson did not know about television, aerosol cans, automatic dishwashers, air conditioners, antibiotics, or computers. Franklin Delano Roosevelt did not know about xenography, synthetic detergent, birth control pills, jet engines, and or Earth satellites. John F. Kennedy did not know about PCs, cell phones, internet, or Google. New technologies create new markets and opportunities. This is the point. However, every new technology replaces older technology. Transistors hurt the vacuum tube industry. CDs hurt phonograph records. Digital photography hurt the film business. When old industries fought or ignored new industries, their business declined. Thus, marketers need to watch the technological market. So you can't fight the trend. When there's when technology improves, you have to go with the trend and adapt yourself. Companies that do not keep up will soon find their products outdated. You see that? Right there, outdated. And they will miss new product and market opportunities. The United States leads the world in R&D spending. The total U.S. R&D spending reached an estimated $389 billion last year. The federal government was the largest R&D spender at about $114 billion. Scientists today are researching a wide range of promising new products and services, ranging from practical solar energy, electric cars, paint on computer and entertainment, video displays, to powerful computers that you can wear or fold into your pocket, to go anywhere, concentrators that produce drinkable water from the air. Of course, there's water in the air, so basically what it's doing is just taking water from the air. Today's research usually is carried out by a research team rather than lone inventors like Thomas Edison or William Alexander Graham Bell. Many companies are adding marketing people to R&D teams. Here we go. Why? To try to obtain stronger marketing orientation. Okay? You need to market it in terms of the technology, with the technology. And your technology needs to be marketing focused. Scientists also speculate that the fantasy products such as flying cars and space colonies. The challenge in each of these cases is not only the technical but the commercial. Okay, here we go. But to make more practical, affordable version of these products. That's our goal. As products and technology become more complex, the public needs to know about these that are safe. Thus, government agencies investigate and ban potentially unsafe products. The United States Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has created complex regulations for testing new drugs. The Consumer Product Safety Commission, or CPSC, establishes safety regulations and have resulted in much higher research costs. Okay? And longer times between new product ideas and their introduction. Marketers should be aware of these regulations when applying new technologies and developing new products. Right? Now let's talk about the political and social environment. Now these can be a barrier to entry, so especially on the political regulation definitely is a barrier to entry, but also political can be a barrier to entry as well. Marketing decisions are strongly affected by developments in the political environment. The political environment consists of laws, government agencies, and pressure groups that influence and limit various organizations and individuals in a given society. This is by definition. Let's go more in detail about that. What we need to first consider is legislation regulating business. Even the most liberal advocates of the free market economies agree that the system works best with at least some regulation. Well-conceived regulation can encourage competition and ensure fair markets for goods and services. Thus, governments develop public policy to guide commerce. Okay, so public policy to guide commerce. Why or how? A set of laws and regulations that limit business. Okay. What's the purpose? Limit business for the good of society as a whole. Okay. Now remember that almost every marketing activity is subject to a wide range of laws and regulations. There is something, there's an old saying called, there's an old expression called false advertising. Yeah, that would be under regulation. Increasing legislation. Now, legislation affecting business around the world has increased steadily over the years. The United States has many laws concerning or let's say covering issues such as competition, fair trade practice, environmental protection, product safety, and truth in advertising, which is falls in the category of preventing false advertising. Consumer privacy, packaging and labeling, pricing, and other important areas. The European Commission has an act of establishing a new framework of laws covering competitive behavior, product standards, product liability, commercial transactions, and for the nations of the European Union. So those are some examples. Understanding the public policy implications of a particular marketing activity is not a simple matter. For example, in the United States has many laws created at the national, state, and local levels, and regulations often overlap. Aspirin sold in Dallas are governed by both federal labeling laws and Texas state advertising laws. Moreover, regulations are constantly changing. What was allowed last year may now be prohibited. What was prohibited may now be allowed. Marketers must work hard to keep up with the changes in regulations and interpretations. Obviously, you don't want to sell anything that's illegal, and you don't want to sell it in an illegal way. Business legislation has now been enacted for a number of reasons. The first is, and I'll give you an application of this idea that I mentioned earlier. First is to protect companies from each other. Okay? Although business executives may praise competition, they sometimes try to neutralize it with when it threatens them. Okay, so laws are passed to define and prevent unfair competition. In the United States, let me get that highlighted. Such laws are enforced by the FTC and the Antitrust Division of the Attorney General's Office. By the way, FTC stands for the Federal Trade Commission. The second purpose of government regulation is to protect consumers from unfair business practices. Some firms, if left alone, would be shoddy products, invade consumer privacy, mislead consumers in advertising, and deceive consumers through their go to the next page. Through their packaging and pricing. Unfair business practices have been defined and enforced by various agencies. The third purpose of government regulation is to protect the interests of society against unrestrained business behavior, which is similar to the second reason. Profitable business activity doesn't always create a better quality of life. Regulation arises to ensure that firms take responsibility. Firms take responsibility for social costs of their production or products. We also have a changing government agency enforcement. International markets will encounter dozens or even hundreds of agencies set to enforce trade policies and regulations in the United States. Congress has established federal regulatory agencies such as the FTC and the FDA, and the Federal Communications Commission, the Federal Energy Regulation Commission, and the Federal Aviation Administration. Also, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, and hundreds others. Because such government agencies have some discretion in enforcing the laws, they can have major impact on today's market performance, which is basically a gray area, and is, of course, morally questionable. Now, new laws and other enforcements will continue to increase. Business executives must watch these developments when planning their products and marketing programs. Marketers need to know what their major laws protecting the competition, consumers, and society. They need to understand how these laws at the local, state, national, and international levels. Increased emphasis on ethics and socially responsible actions. Written regulations cannot possibly cover all potential marketing abuses, and existing laws are often difficult to enforce. However, beyond written laws and regulations, business is also covered by social codes and rules of professional ethics. Okay. Social responsible behavior. This is enlightened companies encourage their managers to look beyond what the regulatory system allows to be simply do the right thing, as they put it. These socially responsible firms actively seek out ways to protect the long run interests of their consumers and the environment. The recent rash of business scandals and increased concerns about the environments have created fresh interest in the issues of ethics and social responsibility. Almost every aspect of marketing involves such issues. However, because their issues involve conflicting interests, well meaning people can honestly disagree about the right course of action, that is, in a given situation. Thus, many industrial and professional trade associations have suggested codes of ethics, and more companies are now developing policies, guidelines, and other responses to complex social responsibility issues. Okay? So let's look at that last part. This is an important thing to put in the book just because it is a reality in the market. Now, the booming internet marketing has created a new set of social and ethical issues. Critics worry more about the online privacy issues. There has been an explosion in the amount of personal digital data available. Users themselves supply some of it. They voluntarily place highly private information on social networking sites such as Facebook or LinkedIn, or in genealogy sites that are easily searched by anyone with a computer or a smartphone. However, much of the information is systematically developed by business seeking to learn about their customers, often without consumers realizing they are under a microscope. Legitimate businesses plant cookies on consumers' PCs and collect and analyze and share digital data from every move consumers make on the websites. Critics are concerned that companies may know too much about digital data and take up unfair advantage on consumers. Okay, so that's the challenge. Although most companies fully disclose their internet privacy policies and most work to use data to benefit their customers, abuses do occur. As a result, consumer advocates and policymakers are taking action to protect their consumer privacy. In Chapter 20, we discuss these and other social marketing issues in greater depth, which is what I'm going to be soon talking to one of my students about. Let's talk about cause-related marketing. To exercise social responsibility and build more positive images, many companies are now linking themselves to worthwhile causes. These days, every product seems to be tied to some cause. Buy a pink mixer from KitchenAid and support breast cancer research. Purchase a special edition bundle of Dawn dishwashing detergent, and P&G will donate $1 to help rescue and rehabilitate wildlife affected by oil spills. Go to Staples Do Something 101 website or Facebook page and fill in a virtual backpack with essential school supplies needed for school children living in poverty. Pay for these purchases with the right charge card, and you can support local cultural art groups or help fight heart disease. Okay, so this is basically a marketing way to encourage people to spend more, and using a social cause to justify it. In fact, some companies are founded entirely on cause-related missions. Under the concept of value-led business or caring capitalism, Their mission is to use business to make a world a better place. That's what they're touting in their marketing. For example, TOMS Shoes have been founded as a for-profit company. It wants to make money selling shoes, but the company's equally important not-for-profit mission, putting shoes on the feet of needy children around the world. For every pair of shoes they buy from TOMS, the company will give another pair to a child in need in your behalf. Sorry, on your behalf. You can see that's a socially aware, cause-related marketing, almost charity-related. Not only does it encourage people to buy more, but it also increases the PR of an image of the company. Now we also have a case example here of Tom shoes or TOMS shoes. I would encourage you to read it. I've already read it, but that will be something you'd like to read more of. My purpose is just to give you the overall understanding of it, and then this is the application, an example of it. And this article they'll talk about in this case example they'll talk about be the change you want to see in the world. Let's talk about cross-related marketing has become a primary form of corporate giving. It lets companies do well by doing good by linking purchases of the company's products or services with fundraising for worthwhile causes or charitable organizations. That's the premise. Companies now sponsor dozens of cause-related marketing campaigns each year. Many are backed by large budgets and a full complement of marketing activities. For example, PepsiCo year-long Pepsi Refresh project is awarding $20 million in grants to fund hundreds of worthwhile ideas by individuals and communities that will, quote, refresh the world, unquote. What do you care about? Asked one Pepsi Refresh ad. Maybe it's green spaces or educational comics. Maybe it's teaching kids to rock out. PepsiCo is spending millions of dollars on its full-blown multimedia campaign promoting its cause-related marketing program. Cause-related marketing has stirred one controversy, though. Critics worry that cause-related marketing is more of a strategy for selling than a strategy for giving. That cause-related marketing is really cause. Oops. Okay. It is more cause exploitative marketing. Okay. That depends on how you look at it, but you have to see what the results of the marketing is or are. The companies using cause-related marketing might find themselves walking a fine line between increased sales and improved range and facing charges of exploitation. However, if handled well, cause-related marketing can greatly benefit both the company and the cause. The company gains an effective marketing tool while building more positive public image. The charitable organization or cause gains greater visibility and important new sources of funding and support. Spending on cause-related marketing in the United States skyrocketed from only $120 million in 1990 to more than $1.6 billion in 2010. And keep in mind that this book was published in 2012. Now, we also need to consider the cultural environment. The cultural environment consists of institutions or other forces that affect the society's basic values, perceptions, preferences, and behaviors. Okay, by definition. People grow up in a popular society that shapes their basic beliefs and values. They absorb a world view that defines their relationship with others. The following cultural characteristics can affect marketing decision making. Okay, let's talk about the first one. The first one is persistence of cultural values. People in a given society hold many beliefs and values. Core beliefs and values have a high degree of persistence. For example, most Americans believe in individual freedom, hard work, and getting married, and achievement and success. These beliefs shape more specific attitudes and behaviors found in everyday life. Our core beliefs and values are passed on from parents to children and are reinforced by schools, churches, businesses, and government. Secondary beliefs and values are more open to change. Believing in marriage is a core belief. Believing that people should be married early in life as a secondary belief. Marketers have some chance of changing secondary values, but little chance of changing core values. For example, family planning marketers could argue more effectively that people should get married later than not getting married at all. All right, let's talk about the shifts in secondary cultural values. Although core values have been fairly persistent, cultural swings do take place. Consider the impact of popular music groups, movies, personalities, and other celebrities on young people's hairstyling and clothing norms. Marketers want to predict cultural shifts to spot new opportunities or threats. Several firms offer futures, forecasts, and the connection. For example, the Yankovic Monitor has tracked consumer values for years. Its annual State of Consumer report analyzes and interprets the faces of and shape consumer lifestyles and the marketplace interactions. That's an overall study for your demographical information and your market research. Now, the major cultural values of society are expressed in people's views of themselves and others, as well as their views of organizations, society, nature, and the universe. Also, uh, people's view of themselves. People vary in their emphasis on serving themselves versus serving others. Some people seek personal pleasure, wanting fun, change, and escape. Others seek self realization through religion, recreation, and avid pursuit of careers or their other life goals. Some people see themselves as sharers and joiners. Others, others see themselves as individualists. People use products, brands, and services as a means of self-expression. They buy products and services that match their views of themselves. Okay, here we go. So what's the purpose? They buy products and services that match their views of themselves. So that pretty much sums that up. Marketers target their products and services based on such views. For example, TOMS shoes appeals to people who see themselves as part of the broader world community. In contrast, Kenneth Cole shoes appeal to fashion individualists. In its ads, the company declares, quote, we all walk in different shoes, unquote, asserting that Kenneth Cole represents, quote, 25 years of non-uniform thinking. So it's basically a double meaning because you're literally talking about shoes, but you're talking about the experience of the shoes. We also need to consider the people's view of others. In past decades, observers have noticed several shifts in people's attitudes towards others. Recently, for example, many trend trackers have a new wave of cocooning or nesting. In part of the uncertain economy, people are going out less, and others are staying home more. One observer calls it the cocooning 2.0, in which people are newly intent on simple pleasures of hearth and home, says another. The instability of the economy creates uncertainty for consumers, and uncertainty trends to make those folks more on becoming home and finding ways to save money. It's a return to more traditional values like home cooked meals. For example, the weaker the economy in the past few years and increased nesting have given a boost to home appliances such as high-end coffee makers and big screen TVs, consumer electronics, and chain. So to give you an example, basically as the habits change, the buying patterns change. So if you know the buying patterns, you can You can accurately market to what people are buying and adapt to the market itself. Best Buy even ran an ad that cast the purchase of a 60-inch flat-screen HD TV not as a self-indulgence, but as an act of loving sacrifice and a practical alternative for other forms of entertainment. In the ad, after a man sells his football season tickets to pay for the wedding, his grateful bride surprises him with a huge set so he can still watch the big game. The kindly salesman sums it up in this way. Another love story at Best Buy with a 60-inch TV in the middle. Says a Samsung marketer. People still have to live their lives, meaning they may not spring for another 61-inch meaning TV. But they need to get the 42-inch HD TV because they're home and they're with their families, and they'll spend $5 on a movie rental versus $40 in the theater and $80 for the dinner. And this is what, by the way, this is a growing trend because now people don't need to go to the movie theaters. They can actually just purchase the movie or even rent the movie online on video streaming sites such as Amazon Prime or other sites too. Even a subscription service sometimes gives them X amount of movies anyway they can watch. So that's basically highlighted. And also with the advent of apps such as after 2000, from 2007 on, people are able to order things online and have it delivered to them. Now, people's views on organizations. People vary in their attitude towards corporations, government agencies, trade unions, universities, and other organizations. By and large, people are willing to work for more organizations and expect them in turn to carry out society's work. The past 2 decades have seen a sharp decrease in confidence and loyalty towards American business and political organizations and institutions. So this is the attitudes that have changed. In the workplace, there have been an overall decline in organizational loyalty. See, it's actually been that way since the 90s, but it's it's increased to the point where it's now highlighted. Ways of companies downsizing, cynicism and distrust. In just the last decade, rounds of layoffs resulting from the recent recession, major corporate scandals, and financial meltdown triggered by Wall Street bankers, greed and incompetence, and other unsettling activities have resulted in a future loss in confidence in big business. Okay, so this is something marketers want to know. Now, many people see work not as a source of satisfaction, but a required chore to earn money to enjoy their non-work hours. This trend suggests that organizations need to find new ways to win consumer and employee confidence. Now, let's talk about people's view of society. People vary their attitudes towards their society. Patriots defend it, reformers want to change it, and malcontents want to leave it. People's orientation to their society influences their consumption patterns and attitudes towards the marketplace. Okay, so this is the important point to make. It's good that it's in the book, because this is the whole thing about how this works. Okay? American patriotism has been increasing gradually in the past 2 decades. It surged, however, following September 11th, 2001, as terrorist attacks in the Iraq War. For example, the summer following the start of the Iraq War saw a surge of pumped up Americans visiting U.S. historic sites ranging from Washington, D.C. monuments, Mount Rushmore, and the Gettysburg battlefield, and the USS Constitution, and its nicknamed Old Ironsides, to Pearl Harbor and the Alamo. Following these peak periods of patriotism, the United States still remains high. A recent global survey of national pride found Americans tied for the number one among 17 democracies polled. Of course, this was as of 2012. Marketers respond with patriotic partisan promotions offering everything from floral bouquets to clothing with patriotic themes. Although most of these marketing efforts are tasteful and well received, even the red, white, and blue prove tricky. Except in cases where companies tie product sales and charitable contributions. Such waving promotions can be viewed as attempts to cash in on triumphal or tragedy, and this is quite bad. Marketers must take care when responding with strong national emotions. That's basically the conclusion. Let's look at people's view on nature. People vary in their attitudes toward the natural world. Some feel ruled by it, some others feel in harmony with it, and still others want to master it. That's our premise here. A long-term trend has been people's growing mastery over the nature through technology and believe that nature is bountiful. More recently, people have been reorganized. Nature have recognized that nature is finite and fragile and can be destroyed or spoiled by human activities. Renewed love. Just highlight that part. Renewed love of things nature has created is a 63 million person lifestyles of health and sustainability. LOAHS. Oh, sorry, LOHAS. Yes. Market. Consumers who seek out everything from natural, organic, and nutritional products to fuel efficient cars and alternative medicine. Okay. This segment spends about $300 billion annually on such products, and the green building market alone, consumers spend about $100 billion in 2008 on items such as certified homes and solar systems and Energy Star appliances. Food producers have also found fast-growing markets for natural and organic products. Now, consider Earthbound Farm, a company that grows and sells organic produce. Is started in 1984 as a 2.5-acre raspberry farm in California's Carmel Valley. Founders Drew Myra Goodman wanted to do the right thing by farming the land organically and producing food that would feel good about serving their family, friends, and neighbors. Today, Earthbound farmers have grown to become the world's largest producer of organic vegetables with 35,000 crop acres. Annual sales of $450 million in product available in 75% of America's supermarkets. In total, the U.S. organic food market generated $27 billion in sales last year, more than doubling over the past 5 years. Niche markets such as Whole Foods Market have sprung up to serve this market, and traditional food chains such as Kroger and Safeway have added separate natural and organic food sections. Even pet aware of what goes into the final food. Almost every major pet food brand now offers types of natural foods. Alright, then we have one more, which is people's view of the universe. You can call that whatever you'd like to call that. I guess in religious terms you call it God. Use that term loosely when they say the universe. Anyway, finally, people vary in their beliefs about the origin of the universe and their place in it. Although most Americans practice religion and religious conviction, practice has been dropping off gradually throughout the years. According to a recent poll, 16% of Americans now say they're not affiliated with a particular faith, almost double the percentage 18 years ago. Among Americans aged 18 to 29, 25% say they're not currently affiliated with any particular religion. However, the fact that people are dropping out of organized religion doesn't mean that they are abandoning their faith. Some futurists have noted a renewed interest in spirituality. Here we go. Perhaps have a broader search for a new inner purpose. People have been moving away from materialism and dog-eat-dog ambition to take more permanent values such as family, community, earth, faith, and more certain grasp of right and wrong. Quote, we are becoming a nation of spiritually anchored people who are not traditionally religious, says one expert. This changing spiritualism affects consumers in everything from the television shows they watch, the books and the books they read, the products the services they buy, which is powerful marketing data. This pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Now, our last part, I believe, yes, this is the last part. So after you take all that information, and you need to do one last thing, which is understand how to respond to the marketing environment or responding to the marketing environment. Someone once observed there are three kinds of companies who make things happen. Those who watch things happen, okay, that's one kind of people. Those who wonder what's happened, okay. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what's happened. Many companies view the marketing environment as an uncontrollable element to which they must react and adapt. They passively accept the marketing environment and do not try to change it. They analyze environmental forces and design strategies that will help the company avoid threats to take advantage of opportunities the environment provides. Okay, now, that's an astute point because those three types of people, a lot of times marketing books don't say that. They just talk about theory. They don't talk about the types of people per se. Other companies take a proactive stance toward the marketing environment. Well, instead of letting the environment define their strategy, well, advises one marketing expert, well, craft a strategy that defines your environment. That's a very clever statement. That's good. Rather than assuming that strategic options are bounded by the current environment, these firms develop strategies to change your environment. Well, business history reveals plenty of cases which firms' strategies shape industry structure, unquote, says the expert from Ford's Model T to Nintendo's Wii. Even more, rather than simply watching and reacting to environmental events, these firms take aggressive actions to affect the public's enforcing their marketing environment. Such companies hire lobbyists to influence legislation affecting their industries and stage media to um, events to gain favorable press coverage. That's your PR. They run quote, advertorials, quote, which are ads expressing editorial points of view to shape public opinion. They press lawsuits and file complaints with regulators to keep competitors in line and form contractual agreements to better control their distribution channels. By taking action, companies can overcome seemingly uncontrollable environmental events. For example, whereas some companies view the increasingly ceaseless online rumor mill as something over which they have no control, others work proactively to prevent counter negative word of mouth. Kraft Foods did this with its Oscar Mayer brand, which fell victim to potentially damaging email hoax. The bogus email alleged penned by Sergeant Howard C. Wright claimed that the Marines in Iraq had written Oscar Mayer saying how much they liked the hot dogs and requested the company send more to the troops there. According to the email, Oscar Mayer refused, saying that it supported neither the war or anyone in it. The soldier called on the patriotic Americans to forward the email to friends and boycott Oscar Mayer and its products. As the email circulated widely, rather than waiting and hoping all consumers would see the hoax, Kraft responded vigorously with its own emails, blog, and entries and quote rumors and hoaxes unquote webpage. He explained that Kraft and Oscar Mayer did in fact strongly support American troops both in Iraq and at home. It works with the military to ensure Kraft products are available uh, wherever the world troops are stationed. On the home front, Kraft explained Oscar Mayer Weiner mobiles visit about half of all the U.S. military bases each year, about 70 total. The offending email turned out to be nearly a verbatim copy of the 2004 chain email circulated against Starbucks, signed by the same fictitious soldier but with Oscar Mayer and hot dogs substituted for Starbucks and coffee. Kraft's proactive counter campaign quickly squelched the rumor, and Oscar Mayer remains America's favorite hot dog. Marketing manager cannot always control enforce environmental forces, okay? But in many cases, it must settle for simply watching uh, and reacting to the environment. That's the second. That's the supporting point. For example, a company will have little success trying to influence geographic population shifts, the economic environment, or major cultural values. But whatever possible, smart marketing managers will take a proactive rather than reactive approach to marketing environments. That's a good point. Right? That's also something really good to put in the book. I like that example as well, so that's good. Now, there is one case example about a website called yourcompanysucks.com. If you'd like, I'll let you read it on your own. Now, I'd like to just review the objectives and key terms. Remember that as part of Objective 1, we described the environmental forces that affect the company's ability to serve its customers. In Objective 2, we explained how changes in the demographic environments affect marketing decisions. In Objective 3, we identified the major trends in a firm's natural and technological environments. And then Objective 4, we talked about and explained the key changes in the political and cultural environments. And finally, in Objective 5, we discussed how companies can react to the marketing environment. So make sure you review that. Okay. Also, um, we have some terms here from each objective. Keep those in mind. So for Objective 1, we have marketing environment, microenvironment, macroenvironment, marketing intermediaries, and public. For Objective 2, we have the demography, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, Generation Y, and economic environment. For Objective 3, we have the natural environment, environmental sustainability, and technological environment. And for Objective 4, we have the political environment and the cultural environment. Right, so that pretty much will sum it up for us as well. Okay. Here's some concepts you can review here as well. And applying the concepts, I do recommend that you do a little bit just to apply that, look at that, and to consider what it says. There's some extra homework if you want to focus on technology, focus on ethics, look at the marketing and the economy for some examples like Netflix, marketing by the numbers, company cases as well, which I mentioned earlier. Scroll down. Okay. All right. So, there's 5 questions you should be able to answer. Okay. Number 1, what microenvironmental factors have affected targets' performance? Number 2, what macroenvironmental factors have affected targets' performance during the period? Number 3, by focusing on the payless part of the slogan, has Target pursued the best strategy, why or why not? Number 4, what alternative strategy might Target have followed in responding to the first signs of declining revenues and profits? And number 5, given Target's current situation, what recommendations would you make on Steinhoffel for companies' future? These are optional questions you can ask yourself. What I would focus on first before you ask those questions is get the major concepts of vocabulary first down, and then once there you apply your objectives down first, and then your key terms, then apply it to the case examples. Okay, as in the key terms and the concepts for each as relates to each objective. Okay, now that was quite a bit for this lesson, so and I'm very sure you got lots out of it, especially if you want to improve your performance in your business by improving your marketing action and performance overall. What I'd like you to do first is click like the video, so it'll be pushed through the algorithm so more people will be able to watch the video. Okay? If you haven't already, please click subscribe so you'll have access to all my videos. Please click the bell so you'll be notified of all the videos, all the future videos, just in case you haven't clicked the bell button. And in the future, I will have a membership for this course and other courses that I have on this channel. I'll go into greater detail in some case examples and also help with learning the material as well. Alright, so I'd like to thank you for watching the video. I want to wish you a great day.